Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Max with BuzzTox here, and I'm back with a Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3 reaction and review. Now initially I have to say that this episode was shot very well, and the battle was very cinematic. We had Melisandre finally come back and light up all the swords of the Dothraki. And I loved how that scene gave us hope and then immediately took it away. Really showing that in future episodes, Daenerys isn't going to have much of an army, and Cersei's plan on waiting for the dead to take out the rest of her enemies will actually work. And even though the Night King is so much bigger of a threat, now they don't have the armies to fight off against Queen Cersei. And I think that's going to bring a lot of implications. And in terms of sequences, I think the show did an excellent job showing Jon and Daenerys flying and fighting the Night King. I thought those scenes were very cinematic, and we saw that Jon still had another moment with the Night King. And Daenerys getting herself in a very vulnerable position, and for the first time ever, being thrown off of her dragon. And that was one of the most significant deaths that we saw. Jorah, her best friend, dying, sacrificing himself for her. And this episode did a great job at showing that the White Walkers and the Night King are almost unstoppable. Except they are. We see all of our characters fight back. We lose Lyanna Mormont when she fights off a giant. We lose Dolorous Ed as he's helping Sam. But one of the most important things is that we lost Beric Dondarrion. And as soon as he sacrificed himself for Arya, I knew that that was the reason why he was kept alive for so long. Because that also speaks to the reason the Hound was kept alive and built that relationship with Arya, and I love how they fleshed that out further. The Hound picked Arya up and brought her to safety, which I loved. And even when Melisandre first arrived, she was staring at Arya, so I got excited. I was thinking that Arya would have a role to play against Cersei, not against the Night King. So to my surprise, when Arya always said, "What do you say to death?" Not today, but then immediately after that I said, uh-oh, it actually meant saying that to the Night King. Now, Arya is one of my favorite characters. I don't have an issue with her killing the Night King. I have an issue that the Night King was killed. I feel like the show has done so much to put us in the camp of Daenerys and Jon, and just for fun, they wanted Arya to kill the Night King to keep us surprised. But the key issue was the foundation of the show was the White Walkers were marching south. And that feeds into Melisandre's visions. She said the real war lies to the north. The White Walkers are the true enemy. Fighting between humans don't matter.
This war of 5 kings means nothing. The true war lies to the north, my king. Death marches on the wall. Only you can stop him.
So I'm getting irritated that now they killed the Night King immediately, and we go back to another human-on-human interaction. Jon and Daenerys against Cersei. We spent season after season being told that the Night King is coming, and that every war doesn't matter. And the problem with this episode is it had all the stakes. The dead were marching south, but now it's gone. I have no anticipation on how they're going to fight Cersei. I don't necessarily care because the Great War has already been won. So I think overall with the Night King's defeat, I think it was just thrown in there. And it doesn't pay off the plot that they established. And I don't like what it represents for the future episodes. They told us in this episode that the Night King doesn't matter. The true enemy is Queen Cersei. But the problem with that is the Night King was the true unique threat. There is always going to be some crazy queen, king, or person that's going to have to be defeated. Human-on-human conflict is not new, and Melisandre told us that it's not important. So why did the show kill the Night King and now focus on another human conflict? I just think that move to have Arya kill the Night King really degrades the next couple episodes and how they're going to fight against Cersei. But now we're left with the Night King defeated, and we're left with all of our remaining characters to face off against Queen Cersei. And we still have a lot of characters left. Grey Worm survived, Brienne, Jaime, Sam, Bran, Arya, Sansa, Tyrion, Daenerys, Jon, and many others. The problem is that they've lost the majority of their armies, and that's exactly what Cersei wanted. And I think the next 3 episodes will go back to the Game of Thrones type thing. That's what the show is now called. It's not about a Song of Ice and Fire and defeating the Night King. It's about who is going to be the one to lead the 7 kingdoms after the reign of Cersei and after the defeat of the Night King. And now that the Night King is out of the way, I think we're going to see the birth of a couple new plot points that are going to be very significant moving forward. The first key aspect of this plot is how to defeat Cersei. I think she'll be a very hard person to beat, and I think the one way you cannot fight Cersei is diplomacy. And I think that feeds into Tyrion's story arc. One of the last pieces of advice Jorah gave to Daenerys before he died was for her to trust Tyrion, because he is a man who learns from his mistakes. And the last mistake Tyrion made was trusting his sister. And Tyrion's done a lot of mistakes in the past, but now it's time for him to step up and make a decision that's going to help them politically and definitively defeat his sister, Queen Cersei. And another big aspect is while Tyrion is planning strategically on how to defeat Cersei, Jaime will be right beside him. Jaime has now fought with the Starks, with Daenerys' army, and he's built some friendships. I think him confronting Cersei this time around will be much different, because I think after him fighting and seeing all of Cersei's enemies die along the battlements with him, I think he'll be angry with Cersei, and I think that leads to him potentially fulfilling that Valonqar prophecy of him strangling his sister to death. And it will be very hard to fight Cersei because she's prepared with 20,000 Golden Company men. She has Scorpion ballistas to defeat the dragons, but most importantly, she has wildfire stored in every aspect of King's Landing. And Cersei, of all characters, is not afraid to use it. I think we could see her lose her baby and lose potentially all hope for a future, and she would rather have all of her enemies killed than any one of them taking her place on the throne. And then that's the other aspect of the storyline. Who will sit on the throne at the end of this show? Because that is clearly an answer that the producers of the show want to be answered. And I think that feeds into the political games of Jon and Daenerys. Who is the rightful king of the Seven Kingdoms? Daenerys from Essos, who is a rightful heir to the throne? Or Jon Snow, who is now a legitimized Targaryen who grew in the north? These two characters have been in love, and it puts them in a difficult position politically. And once people start finding out about Jon's heritage, it will complicate who will sit on the throne. Because as Varys says, power resides where men believe it resides. And in episode 2, we saw Tyrion cue in to Jon and Daenerys acting weird towards one another, and then he immediately ended up talking to Bran. This could be hinting that Tyrion is one step ahead, and he may already know that Jon is a Targaryen. But I think the key person to worry about in this situation is Varys. If anybody would conspire against Daenerys to put Jon on the throne, it would be Varys. And Varys puts his faith in whoever he thinks is the best fit for the Seven Kingdoms.
What is it you want exactly?
Peace. Prosperity. A land where the powerful do not prey on the powerless. And perhaps we've grown so used to horror, we assume there's no other way. The Seven Kingdoms need someone stronger than Tommen, but gentler than Stannis. A monarch who can intimidate the High Lords and inspire the people. A ruler loved by millions with a powerful army and the right family name.
So while Jon and Daenerys are allies and they're going to have to try and get the Golden Company to fight for them to defeat Cersei, I think at the same time they will be playing their own inside political games on who will sit the throne. And the tragedy is I don't even think Jon will want to play, but he will be forced to play. And Daenerys will have to come to terms with her not being the only rightful heir to the Iron Throne. And I think the show focuses on this aspect of the show much more than the Night King, clearly, because now the Night King's dead. And I've said over and over again, I find it funny how every time Bran goes back, he looks at Jon Snow. He saw Jon being born by Lyanna Stark. He saw Jon's parents, Rhaegar and Lyanna, get married.
Smith, warrior, mother, maiden, crone, stranger. I am hers, and she is mine. From this day until the end of my days.
It's less about who's the one to defeat the Night King and more about who's the rightful king of the Seven Kingdoms. So I think now we need to be looking at the show differently. Azor Ahai, or the prince that was promised, or any type of heroic figure, it's not about the person who defeats the White Walkers, it's the person who rebuilds the world after they leave. So even though I am upset they defeated the Night King, and I think it knocks out a lot of plot points that they've set up, I am still optimistic for the last 3 episodes. Because unlike them defeating an enemy that has no emotion, this time we'll be fighting against Cersei, someone that we've seen grow and evolve since season 1. So the show will have more emotional stakes. I personally just don't like what it represents. We could watch any Game of Thrones show with a usurper trying to take over the person who sits the Iron Throne. We could watch any series on the Mad King and Robert's Rebellion. But we can't go back and watch a show when the Night King was defeated after thousands and thousands of years. That's why I think the priorities of this show is very backwards. The mission was always to the north, how to defeat the Night King to the north. And I think them killing him the way that they did really degrades what he represents, and it really degrades what they set up for the last couple seasons. But that's how I feel about this episode and the future of the series. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below, but until next time, I'll see you guys later.